Stand by. Here we go. Look out.
Welcome to the Jeremiah Show, everyone, broadcasting from the AM 1290 KZSB studios in Santa Barbara. This is the show that tears open the hospitality curtains, exploring the food, the fashion, the art, the trends, the music, the business, and the people that make up our exciting world. We are talking to the hottest restaurateurs, chefs, celebrities, and the people on the front lines of the hospitality business.
My co-hosts today are Britt and Courtney. And we got Dr. D on the soundboard over there. How you doing, Doctor? You look like you're spinning.
Yeah, I am, but it's okay. Fire marshal has been called. Way too many people in here.
I think the fire marshals come with our
Oh, I
guest
forgot
today.
about it. You invited him, didn't you?
Yes.
You slipped a
He's
little
not
something
here
under the
yet,
table?
But, yeah. Well, we're talking to some really important people today, some really
Absolutely.
special guests that have helped out the community so much, and this is an important show. I really appreciate you guys coming in studio. You know, it's interesting. We've gone through, as everyone knows, in Santa Barbara, these natural disasters from fires to floods, and when the community, you know, what comes out of that tragedy, when the community gets together and lends a hand and helps out, I think that's something really beautiful and something that comes out of that we don't expect, you know, through these disasters, but when it happens, it's really special. And Patrick Braid from Village Cheese and Wine Store is one such person who is here with us today in studio. Before we get to Patrick, though, Britt, tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about on the show today.
Well, today we are talking to board member of Montecito Fire Protection District, Abel Powell, Village Cheese and Wine Shop owner, Patrick Braid, and Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade volunteer, Jennifer Higgins.
We've also got Sean here. Sean joined us, so welcome, Sean. Another volunteer and documentary filmmaker. Okay, so welcome, guys. Welcome, Patrick. I like that you stand. That's how I usually do it. So it feels better, right? Get in there. So
Have
tell
some
us.
power.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened? You've been documenting this story throughout from day one, and you were on ground, you know, on ground zero, I guess, right the day before the fires, as the fires came towards you. Why don't you tell us the story about how you've been,
Sure.
how the Village Cheese and Wine Shop or
Yeah,
wine
I
store
mean,
was
and just
involved?
first of all, to give you a little history, right? We are considered to be an institution in Montecito.
46 years?
43 years.
43.
Right? So it was owned by my father, John Braid, who passed 2 years ago. The reason that I took over the business, quite frankly, was because of tribute to my father, number one. Number two, the community, and most importantly, the kids. It's a tradition for 43 years that the 6th grade graduating class of Montecito Union all come to the shop 3 o'clock on Friday. So it's candy, it's sandwiches, it's pop, and it's
How did that tradition
hanging
get
out.
started?
It just happened. I mean, it happened for 43 years, you know.
Yeah.
And generations and generations,
Wow.
you know, of people. I mean, I'll give you an example. One gal, Ann, I don't recall her last name off the cuff, but she was from Montecito, MUS kid, right? She's in New York now, right? We're doing a GoFund to basically provide and feed the community and the law enforcement, first responders, and residences, right? And, you know, she was so moved about what we did effectively that she put together her own little fundraise campaign. And today her father came and, you know, gave me a check for $4,000. They raised a total of $6,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's powerful stuff,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's the history.
From this tradition,
Yeah.
and all the traditions that carry on from there. That's amazing.
That's right. I mean, I'll tell you,
Never know.
when he passed, right, in the beginning, it was like, you know, it wasn't necessarily something I was going to do. It's completely out of what my traditional business as an entrepreneur. I build companies and whatnot. But after you know, my father died, it was either on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I made sure that I was there on that Friday to inform the kids. And the reason I did it is that I literally had 50 kids rush me, hug me, crying. it's a very, very powerful situation. So, you know, I did that. Now, also, we're very tied into the Montecito Fire Department, right? Why is that? Because, you know, the Montecito Fire Chief and a bunch of the firemen there were really good friends of my father. When he passed, the Montecito Fire Department brought a wreath and actually spoke and made the eulogy on behalf of my father, right? So those boys mean a lot to us, right? And just kind of digressing back to your original question about being there, you know, throughout the entire Thomas fire, right? We had to do it. We had to step up to the plate. My brother Carl and I, we literally kept the doors open. You know, we documented and chronicled everything on Facebook, right? And as I say,
Can I point out that website, that Facebook page? So you, from day one, from the beginning,
Yeah,
you documented it. So if somebody was
it's
interested,
Village
they can go-
Cheese and Wine on Facebook, and also Village Cheese and Wine on Instagram.
Yeah. And
Okay.
some pretty powerful photographs.
Very
Follow the
live
story.
video. I mean, I'm on the rooftop, you know, and capturing everything live in real time at ground zero. So, you know, as I tell people, it's the smallest things that often make the biggest impression. And what made the biggest impression with the firemen, right? And you had, I don't know, 50 different agencies, departments from all over the place, Oregon, Nevada, all over the place, right? The biggest impact was that, hey, I opened the door, no power, all right, and I gave them access to a restroom, right? Cold soda, Snickers in the back
smallest
pocket.
things that are so
That's right.
important.
That's right. So, you know, when the shit hit the fan here with the mudslide, you know, my brother and I effectively reconned. You know, we got gummy boots, we got the, you know, the rain pants. My brother had a backpack with a hatchet, rope, and saws, right? And we walked through, you know, knee to waist high mud, right? To effectively check and see, number one, is the store still there? And if so, number two, jump into action. And that's what we did, right? It was open, that was ground zero, you had everybody there. You had the National Reserves, you had the Water Swift special search and rescue guys. You had probably 20 different fire departments, all right there, command and control, right before they jump out, right? To risk their lives to save lives, right? It was just an amazing thing to see.
Did you have to think about this at all, or was this just
Hell
like,
no,
I'm
no.
here, we're doing this?
Yeah, oh, heck yeah. So we you know, we flipped, you know, there was no power, but we basically turned the open sign on, put a candlelight bathroom, right? And no power, my brother and I literally started just slicing big meats, just with knives. And we that day made 100 sandwiches.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah,
The Village Cheese and Wine Shop with the open sign.
Yeah.
Like the beacon of hope
yeah.
in that disaster. We're talking with Patrick Braid. He is the owner of Village Cheese and Wine Shop in Montecito on Coast Village Road. It's 1485 East Valley Road, sorry. Go out and say hello to him and talk about the amazing things these guys are doing. They're part of the Bucket Brigade, the Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more with Patrick, Jennifer, Sean, and maybe Abe will be able to join us. I'm sure he's out there still helping out. We'll be right back after this short break.
2.
Check out Abe Powell, board member of the Montecito Fire Protection District, at teafirerelief@gmail.com. Check out Patrick Braid, owner of Village Cheese and Wine Shop, 1485 East Valley Road, Street 14, Santa Barbara, California. Check out their Instagram at Village Cheese and Wine. Call them at 805-969-3815. Follow them on Facebook, Village Cheese and Wine, and donate to their GoFundMe page, gofundme.com/feedthefiremenfirstresponders. Okay, so I
You want
don't
to
need to say
tell a
it.
little bit
Saturdays
more
at
about
noon and Sunday
what's
mornings
happening
at
and,
Yeah, I'll just-
and then
yeah, let me
maybe
just-
lead up to the Bucket Brigade, and then,
Sure, sure.
then we'll kind of talk about your objective to raise money, share a board, do the documentary film, they'll be in for that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Since Abe isn't here, we'll just fill
So
up
where
this-
did we exactly leave off?
Okay, so I'll bring in and I'll ask the question, I'll set you up.
That's good.
Knock it out.
My last name is Bolis.
Okay.
Bolis.
Now it came back.
So,
Bolis.
it's been years.
And do you have a website or anything you want?
No, I mean,
Videos?
He works with us now. He's my cameraman.
I stepped in volunteering because he was actually waiting in because I live up the street.
He wanted to help make sandwiches.
And just help out.
I snuck him in.
And we were doing house runs to elderlies out.
All right, folks, stand by. Here we go.
So we'll do another 10 minutes with Patrick and then go to you guys. Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We're talking with Patrick Braid. He is the owner of Village Cheese and Wine Shop. Is it wine shop or wine store? I don't want to.
Wine shop.
Yeah, wine shop. Okay. I thought Patrick organized at the Village Cheese and Wine Shop. He made sandwiches for firefighters, first responders, and volunteers, and residents that were affected by the flood that just devastated that community. And as we said before the break, you had the open sign on, you had
That's
a
right.
candle in the store, you guys made over 100 sandwiches, you were a beacon of hope, and still are, and continue to be for the residents in Montecito. And tell me a little bit about that experience and pick up where you left off, how you guys got involved and what happened from
Sure.
there.
So on that note, right? Yeah, that was Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday we were able to recon in there, right? And I think it meant a lot to the search and rescue guys. I mean, this is a very traumatic, kind of a biblical catastrophe that we're dealing with here. So I said, look, I'll do whatever it takes, right, to make sure that we're open and supporting you guys, right? But I knew that it was going to take. I knew Montecito was going to be locked down, right? Law enforcement was going to completely shut it down. So I did several things because I'm thinking 10 steps ahead, right? I contacted the Santa Barbara Police Department, basically informed them of what we were doing, but they said no. I contacted my friends at the fire department. I didn't hear back from them, obviously because they're saving lives, right? So my Hail Mary was a call to the CHP, and specifically in speaking with an assistant sergeant, Joe Rodriguez, and Sergeant Stevens. I've told them what I was doing. They said, heck, you know what? If you can be at the turnaround by 10, I got to pick up the governor. If you can be back here, we'll get you in. All right? So now I'm scrambling, and I'm thinking, hey, these guys took a huge leap of faith in me. Didn't know me from Adam, right? So I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking, well, we probably won't have power, right? So I immediately call Home Depot. I talked to one of the store managers there. I don't know his last name, but it was James. He called the senior management team who couldn't get to the store. And I said, hey, I need a generator, okay? And he called me back within 10 minutes, and he said, yes, you got it. I went 100 miles an hour, Home Depot. These guys threw a generator, probably a $5,000 generator in my truck, okay?
That's the Home Depot?
Home Depot, yeah. So shout out to Home Depot for stepping up to the plate, right? So I come in there, with full, unfettered access. I think I'm the only civilian, the only business in all of Montecito. 100% unfettered access. And effectively, what we had become is an emergency makeshift grocery store, right? Because a lot of the residents, 80% of them stayed behind. They don't have power, they run out of food, okay? So what did I do?
So you guys supplied them with food.
Exactly. And so first of all, let me make it clear that we accepted money from nobody, right? Because in good conscience, we couldn't do that. And my father was my inspiration on the T fire, right? And he would not accept money from any of the victims who lost their home for years, all right? So he was my inspiration, and I wanted to step up to the plate and emulate it. And believe me, it was an easy decision, but it was a scary decision because after the fire, my bank account for the business was $700 from being bankrupt, okay? During that week, I'm $800 overdrawn. But I said, you know what? I'm going to put together this GoFund. Hopefully the community steps up to the plate, right? And if not, worst case scenario, I'll try and work it out through insurance claims or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. But people have just been amazing. I think we've raised like $30,000, right, through this GoFund, which is absolutely spectacular.
What a step of faith there. That's incredible that, that you did
well,
that and that you were able to give back and feed everyone and feed them through this this time?
It was, it's my, fiduciary community-based responsibility, right? And you do that because these are your family members, my landlord lost his life partner, his girlfriend, right? Sawyer, the girl at Montecito Union, would come in on those Fridays, all right? So we personally know people, many lives that have been lost, right? So this is what you do. You step up to the plate and you take action when the opportunity presents itself, and you go full bore. So what I did, being undercapitalized, I knew I needed supplies. I contacted Smart and Final, specifically Charles Lowe, who's the store manager there. I informed them of what was going on. They stepped up to the plate, okay? I then contacted Trader Joe's, Steve Bly, okay? Store manager at the one off Milpas. They stepped up to the plate, okay? And I had everything. I'm talking milk, I'm talking eggs, I'm talking butter, right? I had everything. We were effectively, literally, refuge for the residents and just providing a sense of normalcy for these amazing heroes, the firefighters and the first responders and the search and rescue guys who I've actually become really good friends with. I have a battalion chief out of Oxnard, and everybody's giving me their hats and shirts, right?
These are all new friendships.
New friends, yeah. John Acola, who's a battalion chief out of Oxnard, runs 5 engines. He came up a week later on his off day to help me deliver to residents that couldn't come to the shop, right? Because a lot of them couldn't make it, and then if they got out of their home, either they'd be arrested or be asked to leave and never get back to their home, right? So I make just a tremendous stories like that.
It's incredible. And I'm looking right now while we're talking at your Facebook page for Village Cheese and Wine Shop, and you've documented your entire experience here on your Facebook page. So I'd encourage listeners to go to the Facebook page and watch some of these videos, look at some of these incredible photos that Patrick has posted here, along with his documentary filmmaker, Sean Bolis, who is here with us. And we're going to talk to Sean and Jennifer, 2 volunteers, in just a moment when we come back from the break. You're listening to AM 1290, KZSB, Santa Barbara. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We're spending the entire hour speaking with Patrick Braid. He is the owner of Village Cheese and Wine Shop in Montecito. And Patrick and his team and a lot of friends that jumped in to help out in the community, help out Patrick. They fed the firemen, the first responders, the residents of Montecito after the floods. When there was little out in Montecito or nothing out in Montecito, they became a grocery store, and like I said, a beacon of hope for everyone out there. Back to you, Patrick. Continue with your story.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and in addition to that, we extended our hours. We were a five day, Monday through Friday, typically from 10:30 to 4. But what we did is we went from 10 to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. Okay, so and it's a miracle, right? Would you believe that we had power even on that Wednesday after it happened? So Tuesday and Wednesday we had power. I had high-speed internet access. I had air conditioning. Okay, and everybody else around me had nothing. There were slivers of miracles that happened, right?
Almost like it was meant to be.
That's
for
right.
You to be there to help.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was vital. I mean, I'll tell you some relationships that were made. Jeffrey Barbaco, okay? Now, you mentioned the documentary that we're producing. And the way that whole thing came about was that I have experience in producing. I've been involved with things and, trying to do reality shows and infomercials, things of this nature. So I have tremendous relationships, and I had an epiphany. I said, this has to all be documented. Every story, how law enforcement stood up, first responders, what happened to the residents, what happened to the victims who lost their lives and family and everything wiped out. This story needs to be told, all right? And so I was talking to a customer that I've been making sandwiches for a year. Sweet guy. But I didn't know who he was and I didn't know what he did, right? And I'm we were doing things, crazy stuff, like going out and buying cat prescriptions and bringing it back into the residence, getting prescriptions, you know, special requests, right?
Wow.
Because I had the unfettered access. Well, in doing that and stepping up to the plate and you know, being kind and generous, right? You never know who you're dealing with. So here I'm talking to this guy, Jeffrey, didn't know him from Adam, and I'm telling him about my idea of creating a documentary, and he looks at me and says, "Oh, well, I can do that." I said, "Well, what do you mean, Jeffrey?" He says, "Well, I was a former chairman, excuse me, of MGM Studios, and I'm the chairman of the Santa Barbara Film Festival." Okay?
No biggie.
No, right? And a sweet, mellow guy, and you know, and they were so grateful and gracious, he and his wife, you know, about what we did and providing them a sense of refuge, right? You know, I'm happy to report that you know, we're working with his sons who are filmmakers. Okay, they have a company called Test Pattern Media, and they do some amazing work. So you know, we're full steam ahead. Tomorrow is going to be our first kind of kickoff production meeting. Obviously, I already have a tremendous amount of content, which is what you see on Facebook. Sean Bolis, the volunteer who's here with us right now, has been you know, kind of behind me, documenting with some tremendous equipment that he has. Right? Why don't you say a quick hello, Sean?
Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, so I'm a resident in Montecito, and I was getting denied every which way to get back to my house. You know, just being set in from, you know, getting set back into reality from the whole Thomas fire, and then just, you know, feeling like home, and then being evacuated. Took the fire very seriously, but this mudslide evacuation, I did, you know, I took it seriously, and I left because I had police show up to my door and say, you know, you're in a mandatory evacuation, and which I was, and I told them I would leave, and as I did, and then woke up the next morning to what we all, you know, went through or saw. And anyways, trying to get back to my house, I thought my house was gone. I heard that Village Cheese and Wine was open for business, and I've been going in there for years. You know, Patrick's dad, John, was a beautiful soul, beautiful human being for the community, for everybody. And I wanted to get involved, and Patrick had access, and Victoria, who I was friends with her son. Anyway, so we had a relationship there, and she said, I can get you in, you know, I can get you to your house, but you might want to help out if you can. And I said, oh, that's great, like, I don't care, even if I can't get in, you know, I want to help out. And I started jumping aboard and helping make sandwiches and going on these crazy runs through Montecito, beautiful Montecito, which I had no idea, you know, I didn't even know where we were, and it was just Patrick and myself, and, you know, had just supplies for these people that were just trapped up at their house, elderly, and sure enough, we would go in there. They were so relieved to see everyone, or see us, or talk to somebody, and to give them the supplies, just to give them hugs and reassurance, and a little bit of hope, you know, and I just, you know, and I've just been with them, you know, ever since I jumped aboard about probably 4 days after the mudslide, and I feel right, you know, I want to volunteer, and I told them, you know, I don't want anything in return, you know, this is all out of heart, I don't want to, you know, this is just strictly out of heart, you know, I've been in Montecito for about 6 years, I love the community, the peacefulness, the surrounding, you know, and it feels good to give back, and these guys, you know, 7 days a week, working their butts off to feed the community all for free, you know, it's very heartfelt, and then seeing the construction workers, the policemen, the firemen, you know, that don't even live in this area, just around destruction, you know, just devastation everywhere. They come into this little cheese shop, and they get a hug, they get a smile, or whatever it is. They come in with, you know, an upside down frown, or whatever. They come in just, you know, whatever. They would come in, and we would just spread love to them, and they would leave with love and hope.
Well, I mean, food is the common, you know, it feeds the soul, it feeds the, you know, the body.
Totally.
But you guys were also, that, as I said, that beacon there where, you know, the place that everybody was drawn to. You'd already been in the community 43 years, and your father, that everyone knows, and your two sons, and And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that story.
And on that note, you know, real special thanks to my girls, Victoria Delgado and Kelly Stanford. Both of them have been, actually, Victoria's been with my father for 24 years, okay? And Kelly's been with my father for 11 years. On the day of his passing, she tattooed his Maori, we're from New Zealand, we're Kiwis, his Maori name, Hawani, on her ankle. That's how much she loved my father, right? So, I mean, just, you know, I can tell you probably another million amazing miracle stories.
Well,
But I do want to finish with, I think, one key point when you're ready.
we're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and you've got plenty of time. We want to hear the story. So we're talking with Patrick Braid. He owns the Village Cheese and Wine Shop out in Montecito. We're talking with Jennifer Higgins, a volunteer with the Bucket Brigade, and Sean Bolis. He's documentary filmmaker, resident of Montecito, and he's been helping out making sandwiches. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us, please.
We're out interviewing
Thursday,
it's powerful, it's powerful stuff.
It's like hard. Like these, I had this interview with this guy that, you know, his house was mangled, you know, and he starts breaking down, and I thought he was going to tell me his son got swept away or something, you know. It's hard, you know, it's hard being a cameraman, it's hard being, you know, interviewing these.
Yeah, it's
These
hard to
songs.
overwhelm with emotion in the
We're coming back.
process.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We're spending this hour with special guest in studio, Patrick Braid, owner of Village Cheese and Wine Shop in Montecito, who has been feeding the firemen, the first responders, the residents affected by the floods in Montecito the last few weeks. Sean Bolis, who is the documentary filmmaker and putting together the entire film, along with some help from some other outside help, people that Patrick has met through the Village Cheese and Wine Shop. And then we've got Jennifer Higgins, who is a volunteer with the Bucket Brigade. We're going to get a lot of powerful stories. An hour isn't enough, but we appreciate you guys coming in and sharing them. And then I wanted to go back to you, Patrick. You've got, before the break, you had something you wanted to.
Yeah,
finish up
I
with.
think one key point, Abe Powell has just done a tremendous job in, coordinating and putting together this Bucket Brigade. Coincidentally, I'd already been in discussion and talks with Abe Powell. He is one of the directors of the Montecito Fire Department. Okay, part of what we're doing here, the Go Fund is kind of an interim thing. When you see the mass scale of destruction, you begin to realize that there's going to be millions and millions of dollars required, to really help the community to do this. So in kind of conjunction with a good friend, an attorney, Peter Munich, who's actually there in the village with us, we talked about creating a 501c3 charity. So the purpose is that it's from the community to the community. The documentary is the megaphone, right? That will bring attention to it, right? And really give us the ability to potentially affect change and raise a tremendous amount of money. So what I've done is I've actually been assembling a dream team of community leaders, a board, right, that would oversee this whole process. Now, whatever the costs to operate the charity are, the basic costs, everything, 100% above and beyond that would go directly to the victims of this. And it could be businesses, recovery, things of this nature, right? So kind of the position I've been in and, some of the things that we've done, it's gained a lot of credibility and respect with huge community leaders, such as Jeffrey Barbaco is going to join the board of this charitable organization that we're developing. Daz Williams, the Santa Barbara supervisor, okay? He was one of the guys on Thursday that came to the shop. I said, hey, I'm not going to accept your money. And he says, what do you mean? I said, well, we have a GoFund. He says, I'm going to blow you up. And as a man of his word, a week later, he's on Ellen DeGeneres giving us a big shout out. I don't know if you know that, okay?
Was he the father that saved?
No, this is Daz Williams. He's
Okay.
he's a Santa Barbara, he's a politician, Santa Barbara, an elected official. with Santa Barbara, okay?
There was another man on Ellen that was a part of the Montecito
Yeah.
mudslide relief and everything. So you guys are definitely getting a lot of help from the community outside for sure.
Well, I'll tell you, so I've spoken to Daz, okay? He's expressed interest in potentially joining this board, okay, this community-based charitable organization. The captain of the CHP, Cindy Pontes, has said that she'd be interested in joining the board as well. We also have a potential vice president of community outreach for the FBI that came into the store, and I explained what we were doing. We also have the principal of Montecito Union, okay, has expressed interest in joining. That's Anthony Ranney, okay. So these are all the community leaders, right? From the community to the community, right? That way we can ensure everything is done right. You know, this is not going to be a situation where you hear about, hey, millions of dollars were raised, but where do you go, right? It's just not going to happen in our backyard, right? So we're assembling this. The documentary is going to be instrumental, I think, in bringing community-based capital, but also potential, big corporate donors, right?
Right.
Given the magnitude of this
And
natural
you've been
disaster.
organizing, you've reached out to all these
This is my wheelhouse.
powerful people in the community.
I build companies. This is what I do, right? So I do early stage companies. That's for myself, right? But in this case, I've been able to implement my skill sets in structuring deals and doing things and thinking 10 steps ahead, right? And assembling teams and boards, right? But this time it's for humanity. It's for our community, right? And you know what? That's 1,000 times more fulfilling than anything else.
You and your family are a big part of that
Yeah.
community, of that,
Yeah.
at the Village Cheese and Wine Shop.
What's very interesting about all of this, as I've sat here listening for the last half hour, 35 minutes, is a universal principle that a lot of people in business do not understand. And that is whether it's Mother Nature, whether it's the economy, no matter what it is, when that starts to contract, and natural disaster is a contraction for human beings, you don't contract, you expand, you grow. And that's what you did. And that's what everybody else that has been participating in this process did. They expanded.
Yeah.
They said, no, we're not letting this, number one, knock us down and knock us out. But we've got to be out there helping people.
That's right.
And that's, like I say, there are many businesses in this country and even around the world. In 2008, for example, when we had the downturn in the economy, a lot of companies, they contracted. Oh, we got to hang on to everything.
Right.
No, that's the opposite. It's counterintuitive, but it's the correct decision to expand.
That's right. Take massive action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jennifer, you are part of the Bucket Brigade, and I'm not sure if people are aware, or everyone is aware out there, the listeners, about the Bucket Brigade, the Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade that was put together by Abe, correct? Abe
That's
Ballard?
right,
yeah. And you guys are going through what you're facing out there is incredible, the amount of mud and you're basically going into homes and pulling out mud. Well, I'll let you tell us. Tell us what you're doing out there, Jennifer, a little bit about your experience.
It's extreme physical labor, but I've never felt better in my life. It's just really great to be part of the community and working beside all kinds of people. I was filling up buckets with mud next to an 80-year-old woman, next to the partner of Risk and Realtors who lost the head of that company. I was working next to some pretty incredible people from all age groups. A lot of women out there. If you think you're not strong enough to do it, you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can. And it feels really good to be a part of this this effort.
Describe it to us a little bit. What you're doing.
The Bucket Brigade. There's different
5-gallon buckets.
yeah, there's a lot of buckets, hence the name. But we're basically lining up as many bodies as we can and tackling each room of the house and filling those buckets up and then passing those buckets down the line outside to the exterior of the homes and we have bulldozers, that are handling those big piles that are accumulating outside. So it's an extreme effort, but everybody's working so hard. Those buckets are flying at you, and in 2 days we cleared an entire home, which I think was 3-bedroom and an office with a sunken living room, just incredible. So the sense of accomplishment is huge and really, really powerful stuff.
Well, before we go to break, Jennifer, can you tell us how our listeners can get involved in the Bucket Brigades if they would like?
Yes, you had already mentioned earlier in the email address, which anybody can email tfire@gmail.com. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, and
And-
it's T, but like TEA, right?
T-E-A-F-I-R.
Yeah, just so.
F-I-R-E @gmail.com, and just in the subject line type volunteer, and as soon as you send that email out, they will respond to you with all the information that you need to sign up. We have volunteers going out next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, thank you. When we come back, we'll hear more from Patrick Braid. He's the owner of the wine and cheese shop, cheese and wine shop in Montecito. And Jennifer Higgins, volunteer with the Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade. We've also got Sean Bolis, documentary filmmaker. We'll be right back after this break.
Okay.
Cool. You got a question?
Thursday at
You wanna
11 a.m.
come
and
back with it?
At 9 p.m. Saturdays at
All right, so final segment,
I'll
we have a
bring us
couple,
back
3
when you
minutes.
can ask the question.
And now,
You got the last 5 minutes?
Jeremiah
Couple, 3 minutes, yeah.
So can you describe to kind of like with the Mudslides and with the, like, just give them how difficult?
All right.
I mean,
Here we go.
got a question. Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We're speaking with Patrick Braid. He is the owner of Village Cheese and Wine Shop in Montecito. He has been feeding the firefighters, the first responders, the residents of Montecito since the fire and the flooding occurred there in Montecito and the tragedy. We've got Jennifer with Santa Barbara Bucket Brigade. She's a volunteer and she's been clearing homes of the mud that has accumulated in the homes. And then Sean Bolis, a documentary filmmaker. Sean's been documenting the entire experience for Patrick, and the film will be, we'll have you guys back on when you get put it together. But take a look at Sean's Instagram site. It's at Sean, spelled SEAN_Bolis, or Bolis, B-O-L-I-S, at Instagram. Check out the photos there. And Courtney, you've got a question for?
Yeah, so you were telling us the physical and manual labor that you've contributed and to help all these families out, but where did you find your motivation and your kind of internal strength?
I think listening to Patrick and Sean, you can kind of get an idea where I found that. These stories that are coming from the community are pretty powerful, and it's been an emotional thing for me, definitely, to get in there. The physical labor, let's see, the first day I went out there and I charged it. I was like, I'm going to be up there in the front with the guys. I'm going to be lifting these heavy buckets and get as much done as quickly as we can, because the homes are getting damaged by sitting in the mud. And the quicker we can get them cleared, the better it is for the long run for these homeowners, so that they don't sustain more damage from the rot and the mold that can come and infect those areas. So the second day I was hurting a little bit, and I didn't want to get out of bed. And so that motivation again is just about how could you not, right? Mm-hmm. How could you sit and watch? So I don't want to look through the window at this. I want to be right there in the front lines and helping. And I think there's a lot of people that do, and I strongly encourage you to get out there. Don't go to the gym this weekend. Go and help dig out
Great
holes.
advice. So you can volunteer and join at TFIRE, TEAFIRE @gmail.com.
Yes.
That's an email address, actually, not an ad. Before we go, guys, we're out of time here, and thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for what you've done. Do you want to say any final thank yous or to anybody or to the community?
It's amazing to see a number of people stepping up to the plate. I had firemen making sandwiches with me. I had CHP. A lot of friends I've made making sandwiches with me. Yesterday I had 10 volunteers in the shop making sandwiches for the Bucket Brigade.
Are you looking for volunteers at the village?
We have we have plenty, but we accept anybody. You wanna know why? Because everybody wants to contribute, and even if it's a small thing like sweeping the floor, whatever.
Do you need any donations at the shop for sandwiches or food?
Well, we'll accept them. I mean, yeah. We've been doing that. We have people baking stuff for us all the time. I'd like to have another special thanks to Anderson's Bakery, Charlotte Anderson. Okay. Ironically, we were trying to do a partnership a couple of years ago. Okay. She saw me in Smartin Finals. Okay. I told her what we were doing. She stepped up to the plate, and we've been having some of the best pastries and soups at the cheese shop, right, with coffee, which we never had before, okay? And people are just, it's out of this world. So special thanks to her.
I can
Attest to that.
attest to how good the sandwiches were too, especially after a hard day of work.
Yeah, all the listeners, this show airs right before lunch. I want all of you guys out there to go out to the village cheese shop and wine shop on Coast Village Road.
Yeah. No, on East Valley Road. And also
and
Anderson.
Yeah. Go support these incredible people.
They're at State Street and Figueroa. Yeah. Let's show them some love. Yeah. Because everybody's struggling.
Take this week and go support. Go support all the restaurants and businesses out on Coast Village Road.
Also special thanks to Pietro, Via Vai, and Panivino on the Upper Village. I was kind of working with him to give him the ability to work on his business, and everybody's struggling, right? But he paid his employees throughout the whole thing. So.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming in, and we'll have you back. We definitely want to see that documentary film you put together, and we'll have you guys back. Thank you so much for coming in today, and everybody have a good week. Go out and support your local restaurants. And Patrick. We're clear. Excellent. Good. Thanks, guys. How'd you feel that
That's
one?
an amazing
That's it?
work
Good?
that you guys
Yeah.
are doing.
Good story. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you, Jennifer.
I just thought, like,
See you again. Let's
like,
get in touch.
like
Yeah,
even
let me give you a
yesterday,
card.
the story yesterday, this customer comes in to volunteer, right? She, her daughter, they love my father. They've been coming in for about 15 years or something. And she had a special liking, my dad had a special liking